let's go ahead and get started, and then we will take it from there. So I'm going to go ahead and just like minimize the chat screen, so that way I can see the presentation. So the name of the topic for today is elevating your status in the eyes of our clients, our clients. So this is something that I think is the driving force behind what I do as a home inspector every single day. But it's also the driving force of the reason why we're seeing this growth, this exponential growth every single year. So for those of you that aren't all that familiar or that aren't so familiar with me, my name's Phil. So I am the owner of Dancer and Co. We are a boutique home inspection company, and we serve clients here in the DMV. So that would be Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. However, I have been known to fly around all around the country, actually. So last year, I was flown down to Florida. We did Denver, Colorado, and then also flown out to California. California was definitely the coolest experience that I've had so far as a home inspector. California, that was a $50 million home. So that's what that picture is all about here on the front page here for this slide deck. That's me looking out onto the Pacific Ocean, poolside of that $50 million home. And that's also the reason why there's a big 50 there. I actually have that 50 logo on hats and other things too. So whenever I'm out and about, and when someone says, Phil, is that your age? No, it's not my age. I mean, I don't think I look 50, but I'm Asian, so hopefully I'm gonna look like I'm 27 for the rest of my life. But no, you know, it's a conversation starter. It's like, well, actually, no, that's the most expensive home that I've ever inspected, and I would be remiss if I didn't shout out to Randy and the Focus Inspection team out in California, the number one home inspection group out in California. They invited me out there to do that home, so it was such an awesome experience. So, all right, let's jump into it. Oh, credentials, by the way. Also certified master inspector and also certified professional inspector. So when we look and field calls with clients, what does that feel like to you all? Is it an exciting time to be able to take phone calls and try to convince the client why it's so important to not hire the cheapest inspector? No, it's not. It's actually quite frustrating, and it's actually quite tiring. It's quite tiring too. And this is so a little bit about my background. I've been in sales my whole entire life. Before I got into the home inspection industry, I was in the banking industry, so financial planning, financial planner, as well as a banker. So a lot of what I'm going to be sharing with you all today is actually coming from my years of sales training here. So we don't want these phone calls that we're taking every single day to be frustrating. You know, we don't want to have to sound like a broken record and trying to convince clients all the time, you know, why it's so important to hire us, and why we're more expensive than our competitors. But when you think about, you know, fielding those phone calls every single day, every single week, every single year, there's the same objections seem to come up, don't they? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's 2022, 2023, 2025. It's the same objections every single time. So if we know that we're getting the same objections, then we should prepare for them. That way they're easier to overcome. So I know this is a lot of these different objections are going to resonate with a lot of y'all. Let's go through some. All right, so first one, that seems really high. That seems high compared to other inspectors. The quote that you just gave me. Oh, I love this one. That's not what I paid the last time. The last time that I hired a home inspector, it was much cheaper. Oh, for those of you that do new construction, do you offer packages? So like if I do the pre-drywall and the final inspection, and then if I do the 11-month inspection, can you give me a discount? Oh, we all know this one. I need to talk to my spouse, my partner, my business partner. I think I need to talk to my realtor, maybe get a couple more recommendations before I actually make a decision. Um, Last one. We've all heard this one. I need to talk to other inspectors. Yeah, I think I need to talk to other inspectors first. I'll call you back. I'll call you back if I'm interested. How frustrating are these types of comments? But then also more importantly, where is all this stemming from? Let's go back. That seems high compared to others. That's not what I paid the last time. I think I need to talk to other inspectors. All those objections come from the fact that they don't view you as an authority figure in the industry. Sorry to be so harsh, but it's true. So going back to the objections, if we know that these are the objections that are going to be coming up every single day, the prudent thing to do would be to elevate our status as a home inspector and make sure that when these clients are calling us, they view us as opposed to being at the bottom of the barrel, they view us at a much higher level, an elevated status. And if they view you as an authority figure, then overcoming these objections, if any objections at all, are going to be much easier to overcome. All right. So diving into it a little bit further. So when these potential prospects or potential clients are calling us, they're vetting us. So some of the different things that they're weighing out are, okay, so cost, we all know that. They're going to ask if we can accommodate their schedule. And they're also looking at our expertise. So let's stop here for a second. What do you think the number one thing is here when it comes to clients vetting us? Is cost the most important thing? Is it timing? Or is it expertise? Based off of what you all have experienced on the phone and getting real-time responses from these prospects, what do you think prospects are looking for the most? Go ahead and type it into the chat, and then let's see what everybody says. Jack says cost. Alicia, timing. Timing is definitely for sure. Mark, cost. That's two for cost. David, two, then three, then one. Paul, cost. Bill, timing. Damien, boom. It usually comes down to cost. Yep. Hewitt, cost. The overwhelming response. Survey says that cost. Cost. Gary, I see you coming in at expertise. Yes, that is a part of it. Cost. Cost is the overwhelming driving factor. David, rock star. David rarely gets people to complain about cost. David is most likely doing a lot of things that we should strive towards. If he's very rarely getting pushback with cost. So, but yes, the driving factor is cost. And it all boils down to the fact that they don't see us at an elevated level, an elevated status. Okay. So since we know that cost is going to be the objection that comes up over and over and over again, when you think about all the different skills that you need as a home inspector, when taking inquiries over the phone, so not actually doing the inspection, but when you pick up that phone and when you're talking to a prospect, what's the number one skill you need to be able to win that client over? Is it providing timely responses? So answering the phone or responding to them via text very quickly and letting them know we'll get to them as soon as possible? Is it creating really awesome, amazing proposals? What about handling objections? Or maybe it's just as easy as talking about how great you are. What do you guys think? What is the most important skill that you need as a home inspector? Not when you're inspecting, but when you're fielding those phone calls. Hewitt, handling objections. Mark, professionalism. I like that one. You definitely have to be professional. Jack Beagle, building rapport. I like that. Isaac, clearly communicating your value, your unique value. I love that. Gerald, selling the product you stand by. Be professional. Joshua, timely response. Timely responses are definitely part of the experience. Make no mistake about it. Ken Welch, selling expertise. Damien, selling them my professionalism. So you guys are very close. All these things are important. You're absolutely right. But the number one thing, if you only can focus on doing one thing great, it's handling objections. It's handling the objections. So when you're talking to a prospect and you know that they're going to have certain things come up. So let's go back. If you know, or if we know as a community, these types of objections are going to come up. Seems high. That's not what I paid the last time. Hey, do you offer packages? I think I need to talk to other inspectors. Then what we need to do is we need to handle those objections up front. When we talk to the prospects, the way that we interact with them needs to be in such a way where we know that those objections are coming and we are going to talk to them in such a way to be able to overcome them. So the number one in our the number one objection in our community, or the number one objection in our industry is cost. These prospects treat us and view us as a commodity, like a pencil or a stapler. All staplers are the same. All pencils are essentially the same. But that's not true, is it? We all have our own unique backgrounds, experiences, how many homes we've inspected, the types of homes that we've inspected. All these different things make us unique and make us different from our competitors. We're not commodities. So we need to be able to show the prospects that call us the value in what we do. It's not just about cost. So so this is something that I say all the time. When given the opportunity, people will absolutely pay for perceived quality. They absolutely will. So a couple different examples. And it doesn't matter the industry, by the way. Ruth's Chris. For those of you that aren't familiar with Ruth's Chris, that's a really nice steakhouse. It's a high-end steakhouse. Everything there is super expensive. You can get steaks, you can get a whole bunch of different stuff. You can get seafood, but they're known for steaks. But there are other restaurants that serve steaks. You can go to now. Don't get me wrong. I love Applebee's, but Applebee's also serves steaks, but they're nowhere as expensive as Ruth's Chris. How is Ruth's Chris able to still pack their restaurants and charge probably 5x whatever it is compared to Applebee's? It's their image. They have an elevated status. The community perceives their product as being better. And when the community perceives their product as being better, you can charge more. And people want to and love to pay it because they want to eat a better product. They want to be seen at those places. They're going to do a selfie and post it on Instagram. Another example, Mercedes. But it's not just Mercedes. What about, let's say, let's take let's do an easier one. What about the Chevy platform? If you're interested in buying a large size SUV, you've got a couple different options. in the actually in the GM platform, excuse me. So if you want to do entry level, you're in a Chevy Tahoe. If you want the high end, the best quality, you're going to step into a Cadillac Escalade. Is it the same car? Yes, it's the same car, but all the creature comforts and all the bells and whistles are very different in the Escalade than the Tahoe. But people are willing to pay so much more for the Escalade than they are the Tahoe. Why? Because there is a perceived quality difference. Let's do another one. Ritz-Carlton. It's a hotel. It's a hotel. If you're on vacation, you're most likely going to find yourself at a hotel at some point. What is a hotel? It's a bed. It's a room. There's a room and there's a bed there. They've got a TV. But why are people willing to pay so much more for a Ritz-Carlton versus like a Holiday Inn Express? With a Holiday Inn Express, all you're essentially getting is the room with the bed, the TV. At the Ritz-Carlton, they say, this is not just a room. This is not just a bed with a TV. Look at all these different things that you're getting. All these different things that you're getting. And it starts with the experience. The CEO for the Ritz-Carlton has been on camera saying that the experience that they create for their clients starts when they see that Ritz-Carlton sign. As soon as you walk through that front door, you're going to have somebody greet you and most likely take your bag. Is someone greeting you at the Holiday Inn Express when you first walk in? Yeah, if you walk far enough over to the counter, over to the check-in counter. When you're at the Ritz-Carlton, if you ask somebody where's the bathroom, are they going to just point a finger and show you where to go and go find it yourself? No, they're going to walk you to that bathroom, and then they're most likely going to just hang around the outside. And then when you come out, they're gonna say, hey, so what else do you need? Can I help you check in? Can I bring your things up? Look at all these different things that we can provide to you. It's a completely different level of experience, and they're justifying their prices because they provide an elevated experience. They have an elevated status. So as inspectors, if we're able to change people's mindsets in terms of who we are and what we're able to provide, then there you go. That is your elevated status. So how do we determine, or how do people determine that we have an elevated status or we're an authority figure in the space? A couple different ways that we can do this. So do we have hard to obtain credentials and expertise? So if you're in a state that is a non-licensed state, do you have the NHIE? Did you pass the NHIE? That's a hard exam. That is a hard exam. Did you pass that? You will instantly separate yourself from everybody else. Do you have the CPI designation through InterNACHI? Have you been around for years? Do you carry the Certified Master Inspector designation? Are you a Code Master Inspector? These are the types of designations that are not easy to obtain and can separate you from the competition to elevate your status. Another one is not just the consistency of your reviews, but what do those reviews say? Does the review say, amazing job? He or she showed up on time. Oh, I love that one. That says nothing about that person. He or she showed up on time. If that's all they're saying, or essentially all they're saying, man, that's a low bar. He or she showed up on time. Provided me with a fast report. That tells me nothing. We want to see reviews like this person, Home Inspector A, showed up half an hour early, told me that they were there early, started inspecting the outside, and then when I showed up, was already on the inside. But then as soon as I pulled up to the driveway, he or she went out and greeted me. Maybe he or she carried my bags or whatever it was into the home. We want to see reviews that have some type of meaning behind it and aren't just generic. Website. Website is probably your most important piece of the overall authority figure and trying to elevate your status. Because most people, before they call you, what are they going to do? They're going to do research on you. They're going to look you up. And what that website does, what your website does, is it's essentially confirming to these prospects that you do have an elevated status. You are an authority figure. So when you think about your own website, look at it from a luxury standpoint. Does this closely mirror? Does this closely mirror other luxury brands? Can someone easily determine that you are at an elevated status or an authority figure very quickly? So if you do not have a link to all of your amazing reviews on your website, you should get one and have it embedded into your website. And it needs to be right there at the top. So that way, for all to see that you're amazing. What about your bio section, the about us section? Is there an about us/bio section on your website? What does it say? What does your bio section say? Does it say that you've been doing this for 5 years, 6 years? There are a lot of other inspectors that have also been doing it for 5 or 6 years. That doesn't tell me anything. Tell me about all the awesome, fun, cool things that you've done, the things that you're proud of. Those are the types of things that'll separate you from everyone, from everyone else. What about on your website? Is there a link to sample reports? How are people going to understand that you are an authority in our space or have an elevated status if they can't see the type of work that you do? I know we all care desperately about our profession and about the work that we produce, but can other people get the sense of that? If you don't have a sample report section on your website, you need to get one like tomorrow. If you have one already on your website, let's think about this for a second. Since the website is helping to demonstrate to prospects that we do have an elevated status, what type of sample reports are on that website? Are they the most amazing homes that you've ever done? Are they the most meticulous reports that you've ever created for families? Or is it just a generic sample report just because someone told you once that you had to have a generic you had to have a report up. So it's just, whatever you were able to get quickly. Remember, people are judging you. They're judging you and trying to determine whether or not they want to pick up the phone and call you. So if you don't have any really awesome, cool, fun sample reports that demonstrate and reflect who you are as a home inspector, you need to go back into your book essentially and find them and proudly display them for all to see. Now, it's important for you to call those clients first and make sure that they're comfortable with you putting their house on your website in a public space. But if they're not, just keep that in the back of your mind. The next time you're in a home and you're doing a report or you're creating a report for a family and you know that it's a very good reflection on who you are, ask the family if it's okay for you to proudly display that on the website because it means a lot to you and it helps you get additional business. Now, the last one is, now this is the ultimate, ultimate way to confirm that you do indeed have an elevated status and you're seen as an authority figure. It's the amount of business, the percentage of your business that comes from client referrals. How did the prospect find you? So to give you an idea, over 70% of all of our business today, watch me jinx myself, But over 70% of all of our business today comes from client referrals. And it speaks and it speaks to how we do things. It's how we inspect resonates with families. And because the majority of our new clients are coming through this channel, we have we are perceived at an elevated level, elevated status, and then therefore we can charge higher prices. All right, so this is something that I always say as well. So when a client or when a prospect calls us, they do not view us as a home inspector. They don't. They view us as a salesperson that they want to spend as little time as possible with and get off the phone because they don't want to be sold. Our culture does not want to be sold. That is another reason why it's so important to have and project an elevated status and project that you are an authority figure in your space, because the client is going to try to rush you off the phone. We all know it. We all experience it every single day. So, so we talked about the hard to obtain credentials and expertise. We talked about the consistent reviews. We talked about the website. So, and we also talked about how the clients find us ultimately. So when a client calls us, they're all going to have a cost-based way of thinking. They're fixated. They're fixated on how much is this going to cost. I don't want to pay more than I want, that I paid the last time. And if I can, I would love to pay less. It's crazy. It's crazy. But we need to change their way of thinking from a cost-based way of thinking to a results-based approach. And we'll go into that in a second. So this is the type of mentality that I was taught as a salesperson for essentially my whole entire professional career. Some of you may know who this quote came from. Jeremy Lee Minor. He's making a lot of what I've learned over time popular again, but also putting his new spin on it, in terms of trying to get someone's cost-based way of thinking over to a results way based of thinking instead. So love this quote. Human beings will never want to change unless they relive their pain of their current problems or have a fear of future pain. So if you can't get the prospect to essentially feel pain during your initial call with them, you're not winning. They're going to move on. So in our industry, what is pain? What is that pain? So when someone calls and says, Phil, how much is this going to cost? We need to slow them down and change their way of thinking. So if we've got some time, we're going to role play here and go over a couple different scenarios. But we want to seek to understand, right? So it's typically one of two. It's typically one of two scenarios that's going to come up. The prospect that's calling us has either never been through the home never been through the home inspection process before. They have been through the home inspection process and had a really bad experience. And then here's the one that's kind of like a toss up. They've been through the home inspection process before and they had a great experience. So if someone is calling us and asks us about cost, chances are, roll of the dice, they probably didn't have an ideal experience with the previous inspector, but they're still going to ask about cost. So when we take that phone call, we should take a step back, and say, thank you so much for giving us, for giving us a call. I would love to be able to, to go over, what the rate would be in order for us to come out and help you. But before I do that, I want to learn a little bit more about the home that you're interested in, so I know how much it's going to take in order for me to come out and help you. But then also more importantly, what was your experience like in the past with your last inspector? Was it a good experience or was it a bad experience? And when the client says, "Oh, well, it wasn't that great," and then we asked more questions about that. So I'd say, "Okay, well, sorry to hear. What was it about that inspection that you didn't like?" And then essentially what we're doing is we're not selling the client on us. We're getting them to relive the pain that they experienced in the past. They're selling themselves. So if they say things like, "Well, this home inspector missed one too many loose outlets. They didn't get they didn't see that the garage door was buckling. They said that they're going to be there for 2 hours, but they're only there for like an hour and then left." So then they're telling us all these different types of things. Because remember, they're calling you because they didn't like their other inspector. You already have a leg up. So you just need to find out the why behind their calling you. So when they're saying all these different things, at the very end of them rehashing their pain, it's so easy. All you have to do is say, "Well, if I could check more outlets, stay just a little bit longer, and give you a better experience than what you experienced in the past, would that be helpful?" Who's going to say no to that after they just after they just went over everything that they didn't like about the previous inspection from 5 years ago? We win. Did I talk about how many reviews I had? Did I talk about all the different cool places that I went to? Did I talk about the different types of clients that I helped? Actresses, singers, athletes? No. It was all I focused on them. That's the difference. So as opposed to me talking about myself, I listened to them. And because I listened to them and figured out what they wanted to get out of this, I just elevated my status in their eyes. So now I can talk all I want because I'm no longer a salesperson. I'm a confidant that knows what I'm doing. And they know that I'm going to prioritize them and their needs versus my own. Make sense? Cool. Okay. So if your prospect says, "That seems really high compared to others. That's not what I paid the last time," I need to talk to other inspectors. If they're saying those things at the very end, we did not do a good job at finding out why they actually called us in the first place. There is a reason why they called us. They're not going to tell us unless we ask questions that are meaningful and demonstrate to them that we have an elevated status. We are an authority figure that doesn't need to sell them on us. So that means that we didn't do a good enough job. We need to circle back and find out where the disconnect was. So keep in mind, if these things come up, if these types of objections come up, the most important thing for you to know in the back of your head is those are not real objections. Those are not real objections because you weren't able to get them to emotionally open up. So if for some reason, if you do encounter something like that, remember, they're just saying those different types of things to get you off the phone. But it's not easy to get someone to call us, right? So we need to try to find out where the disconnect was in our phone call. The easiest way to find out where the disconnect was is so when they give an objection of, "Oh, well, that's not what I paid the last time. Let me just call around a little bit more and then I'll get back to you." Or regardless of what it is, the easiest way to try to find out what the real reason why they're not going to sign up with you on the spot is It's actually quite easy. All you have to do is say, and you do it in kind of like a conversation way. You say something to the effect of, "Oh, no, no, yeah, that's completely fine. Totally get it." But just so just so I'm more just so I'm more prepared for the next time that you call me, when you do have more questions, because I'm sure that they will come up, after you talk to other inspectors. What were some of the other things that you still need to think about that I didn't that I may not have answered? And if you did a good job at earning their trust, they'll tell you, and then you've got one more shot at trying to connect everything before they hang up the phone. So, uh, another one that you could possibly say, if for some reason if they give you one of these types of objections, um, is you could just very very casually say, "No, completely get it, totally understand, but do you mind if I ask you a question, and hopefully I don't offend you, but do you mind if I ask you a question?" And they'll say, "Of course, yeah, you can ask me." And then say, what was it that you still needed to think about that I didn't answer? Because I was just talking so much that I probably didn't get a chance to answer one of the questions that you still had. They'll most likely tell you, and then it's your last chance to try to reconnect everything. So um so there's a right way, and I'm sure you guys are noticing a theme here. There is a right way to start a conversation, and there's a wrong way to start the conversation. So when someone calls, the wrong way to actually start this conversation is something along the lines of, you just need to go with us because we have a zillion reviews. We've been helping clients forever, even before like dinosaurs were even here. And we've also been nominated as a top inspector for like 10 years, for like 15 years, like 20 years. What do you sound like? A salesperson. We don't like salespeople. A better way to start the conversation is, when they say, how much is this going to cost? We say something like, absolutely. So let me figure out what it's going to cost, by learning a little bit more about, what the home has, but then also what you've experienced in the past. So what has that experience been like in the past? That's caused you to want to for that has caused you to want to give us a phone call, because you said that you had a previous inspector that you used. Did you not really care for him or her? See how that opens it up? And that's not a sales that's not a sales conversation at all. Because if they actually like their other inspector or the previous inspector, they wouldn't be calling you. So that type of question gets them to open up. And now we've elevated our status from a salesperson to an authority figure that cares about them. So it's the difference. Okay. Now I know I said a whole bunch in such a short period of time. Let's take a couple questions. All right. So David says, if I'm in a vacant house, I'll take the call, or I have a custom text response that says I'm in the middle of inspection. Can I call you back? I love that. Love that. Because you're showing that you care, and you want to hold them. Now, David, what I would say is, so in order to be able to leverage your website as much as possible, right? Because we know that we're going to get certain objections. I would also have you consider also adding in the link to your website, and send it to that prospect and say, in the meantime, here's a link to our website where you can learn a little bit more about us, as well as take a look at our sample report section and see how thoughtful we are. Sometimes I actually do that intentionally. Even if I can actually pick up the phone, sometimes I'll actually just send them everything anyways and tell them I'll call them back in like an hour or 2 hours, because I want them to look. I want them to look. I don't want to sound sales. The website will sell them for me. And then by the time that I pick up the phone, I don't really need to say anything. It's more about, hey, when can you come out? Um, let's see here. Robert, all good advice. My problem is multitasking to try to pull up data on the house to give an accurate price while keeping them on the phone, trying to make them feel emotionally heard. I hear you, Robert. I hear you. That's so I've actually noticed a huge difference in terms of my conversion rate when I will actually, so I also have like an automated response text that says, sorry, I can't answer the phone right now. Hey, how may I assist you? And then when they say, hey, I'm looking for help, that's Robert when I'll actually, send the link over to my website. So that way they can confirm in their own mind that I am an authority figure in the space. I do have an elevated status. So by the time that I pick up the phone, it's already sold. So here's the other thing that's really, really interesting. I forget where I actually heard this, but it's so true. If you're good or if you're important, people will wait. I'll say that again. If people perceive you to be really good or important, people will wait. So when I started over 4 years ago, people couldn't wait because I was a commodity. I had nothing to my name. They didn't know who I was. But now my website looks a lot different than when I first started. People wait. They will wait for me to respond back to them. Now, here's the other thing that's also interesting as well. Is that when oh wow, I just lost my train of thought. I will if it actually comes back to me, I'll circle back to that one. But oh, now I remember. So when it comes to like people waiting is so when I first started, I would oftentimes hear prospects say, "This sounds fine, but I still need to call a couple more inspectors. I still need to call a couple other inspectors. If I decide to go with you, I'll give you a call. I'll give you a call." How many times have we heard that? How many times have we all heard that? But now, when I think about my business today, I'm typically the last person that the prospect calls. Now, why am I sharing this with you? When these prospects are vetting us, let's say if they picked out three different inspectors that they're vetting, they will always save the last person that they perceive to be the best for the last call. So if you are getting responses such as, I need to call the other inspectors and I'll call you back, there is something about how you are conveying yourself, projecting yourself to the community that needs to be tweaked because they're not viewing you at an elevated status, as an authority figure. But now, when I'm calling these prospects back, the conversation is much different. They say, "Oh yeah, I've already talked to the other inspectors. You're actually a lot higher. You're actually they say this to me all the time. You're actually a lot higher than everybody else. But I want to pay for quality, and you typically get what you pay for. So Phil, it's you. So keep that in mind. Preston, how do you handle landing first-time home buyers who don't know what they want and are in essence, essence price shopping? Oh, that's an amazing question. We didn't talk about that one, Preston. Thank you for bringing that one back up. All right, so how do we do this? So we need to convey to these first-time home buyers what the pain is going to feel like if they don't go with us. So we all know what the minimum standards of practice are, right? When it comes to home inspections. You are allowed to do a representative number of windows, inspecting them in the home, receptacles, doors. You're not required to look at everything in the home. Some home inspectors, and we all know this, some home inspectors take that to an extreme and they'll say, well, you know what? I'm going to do one outlet per room. I'm going to do one window per room, and I'm going to move on. Why? Because I didn't charge enough money in the first place. Therefore, I have to make up for that fact in volume. So we need to tell the first time home buyers, hey, there's a couple different ways that you can actually do this. So if you want me to keep the cost down, here's how I do that. And here's how every other home inspector does that. Now, if I'm only checking one outlet per room and one window per room, do you think that's going to open yourself up to more missed opportunities in terms of deficiencies? Every single time the first time home buyer says yes, extreme spot checking will lead to misses. It's a fact. They always arrive to that at their own conclusion. So then I just follow that up by saying, well, the way that I like to do things is I like to be more thoughtful going through homes. So if I could check more outlets for you, more windows for you. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to check every single window. It's not going to say I'm going to check every outlet, because what if I can't get to an outlet because it's behind a couch? But if I could check more windows for you, more outlets for you, take a look at the garage, start the appliances for you, so that way you have a better idea in terms of what the overall condition of the home is like. Is that something that you're more looking for? Or do you want to keep the cost down and do a spot check? So what I'm also doing is I'm essentially saying to that first time home buyer, so is cost the most important thing to you? Or is getting the most amount of information the best thing for you? Because if keeping the cost down is the most important thing to you, then I don't think I can help you, because I actually personally don't feel good about that. I want you to know as much as possible. This is for you. This is your time to understand the home. So if you agree, if you love the way that I do it, which is I'm trying to be more thoughtful, then let's do it. But in order for me to spend more time at your house, because I'm not just checking one outlet per room, not one, I'm not just checking one window per room, it takes longer to do. And because of that, the rate is different. How does that sound, Preston? Cool. Mark, I find during slower periods, I feel like I'm chasing work. Imagine the clients feel the same. How do I make it feel like I'm not selling myself? So I think that's one of the things, Mark, that you're going to find. Like if you commit yourself to really sticking to trying to create an elevated status for yourself, and constantly like building upon layer upon layer upon layer, which takes time to do, you will find that there are fewer like hills and valleys in terms of your business. Um, the first I still think about it because it's so crazy. It's the exact opposite from where I was from where I am now. But when I first started years ago, I don't think anyone called me for like 3 weeks. My wife was actually getting really concerned. But now like I turn away business. I turn away business every single day. And what I tell clients or prospects is I say, hey, so unless you actually found me through either a referral from a friend, a family member, or coworker, I can't help you because I have such a large book of business. But I need to be able to keep it open for those clients that actually that see value in what I do. So it's not something that you'll be able to actually mitigate and then completely remove right away, Mark. But if you focus on the things that you can control, right? We can't control the market. You can't. So there's no use to fixating on how busy or how slow the market is. But we can control how our community perceives us. And if we can create an elevated status and get these prospects and hopefully clients to view us as an authority figure, when you do get those calls, it's going to increase the likelihood of your conversion ratio. You're going to have a much higher probability of converting them to a client. And then over time, there will be fewer ups and downs because a lot of these clients are now coming to you through client referrals, as opposed to just Joe Schmo that walks off the street. So um, let's do. Got about 10 minutes left. Let's do Let's do one more question. Ken says, "What's your opinion of using a service that takes sales calls versus us inspectors taking our own calls?" Um, I'll pose it this way: does that massive call center actually know who you are as an inspector? Do you have one-on-ones with them every single week? Have they really sat down to look at your reports? Do they hear you fighting over the phone, fighting for clients over the phone every single day? And the why behind why you're here and why you want to help clients? No, you're probably one of 500 inspectors that they're trying to convert into sales, new clients for. Now, I also have someone that also helps to field calls. It's my office manager, Jessica, who's also my wife, by the way. It's inevitable. You will have someone that's going to help you field calls. But where I'm going with this is you need to find someone that is more attuned to you specifically, Ken, that doesn't treat you like a number, that knows your business a lot more closely, a lot more intimately, that can make a much better pitch for why you are the person that needs to go out versus Inspector A, Inspector B, Inspector C. And I don't think you're going to get that with a large call center. It's just there's just too much of a disconnect. But it is important to have someone help you field calls. When I was in banking, um, we had personal assistants help us field our phone calls. Now, we could have had a large call center do it, but I was in the wealth management space. So, a lot of what I'm trying to create here, and trying to help you guys, help everyone here, try to create, for your own practices is, we need to make this more personalized, or as personalized as possible. Large call center is not going to do it. Um, all right, last one. So, Ken, again, besides doing a valuable inspection, how have you encouraged your clients to refer you to others? So it depends. It depends, because I'm essentially trying to read. I'm trying to read that client. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's roughly the same type of outcome. The family is going to love the inspection because it's a lot more thorough than what they've seen in the past, or I saved them from getting a home inspection that wasn't so thorough. So at the very end, I tell them, hey, I'm gonna send you the report whenever it is that you're committing to sending the report by. And then I follow up with them. And then, so what I do is, I'll actually text them the evening after that they actually received the report, and I'll ask them, hey, do you have any questions? And then, they'll say yes or no. And then once they respond to me, then I'll say, hey, if you don't mind, would you mind leaving a review? Because not a lot of families think that new construction homes need to be inspected if I'm doing new construction, or if it's like a resale. I'll say, uh, a lot of families that are doing inspections, they're going to be looking online to see what the experience has been like, and it actually helps our family business out a lot. So anything that you can possibly provide and convey to others in our community would be greatly appreciated. But here's the key. Here's the key. Imagine in your own life, because I've seen it several different times in the comments, like, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy. How do we do all this stuff? Uh, all of our clients that we converted from prospects into clients, they also have busy lives. So if you ask for reviews, or if you ask for referrals at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 9 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the evening, do you think that they're distracted? Yes. If you text them at, let's say, 8 o'clock in the evening, 8:30 in the evening, what are the chances are that they're probably sitting on the couch watching TV or reading a book, not really distracted? Quite high. So when I'm talking to them as late as I can, where I know that they're not going to be distracted. And then when they say, yeah, it was an amazing experience, then I say, hey, here's a link to my review. Or I'll say, hey, let me know about that friend that you were talking about. Let me know. And I can reach out to them. And then they'll send me the info. And then boom, right there. Because if you let them go too long, the excitement of that experience is going to fade. And it fades quite quickly. Buying a home or buying anything in general is such an emotional, visceral experience. So we need to be able to get them when they're at their high, which means it's got to be very, very, very quick. And you have to get them when they're not so distracted. But again, wanted to say thank you for jumping on this webinar. I hope that everyone was able to take away something where you're able to implement it into your own practices tomorrow. And also, the last thing I guess I'll actually leave you all with is notice I just said practice because it's a knee-jerk reaction for me. I view this, and you all should view this. This is your practice. This is your practice, just like a doctor, just like an accountant, just like an attorney. You have your own group of clients. You have your own group of centers of influence, realtors, contractors that are sending you business. This is your practice, and you should view it that way. We are not commodities. We provide a very, very valuable service to the community, and we should get and the amount of work that we put in should be or the amount of work that we put in should be commensurate with the rate that we all get paid. So with that, see y'all.